Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I am your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. Raj, the Lakers have had a mixed set of games over the last 7 games. They're 4-3, some games missing Luka, some games missing LeBron. And most recently, we got beaten pretty badly by the San Antonio Spurs without Victor Wembanyama, who just upset the OKC Thunder in the
Ooh,
NBA Cup semifinal game. So that is also a thing. They were much better. Well, Victor came back for that game and they ended up winning a nail biter. But there's a lot of turmoil in Lakers Nation because there's them losing a couple of games to teams that they thought they'd
yes.
beat, and then Rich Paul having some comments on his newest podcast with Max Kellerman, which we'll discuss much later.
Yeah.
But the Lakers are still kind of figuring themselves out here in December, and we're reintegrating LeBron too as well. But before we get into all of these different things, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. A little tired. Drove back from practice today. Got to, talk to JJ and few Marcus Smart and Vando, but I'm good. It was nice to have a little break between Laker games. So it was about 5 days between games. Lakers have another long break again, so they don't actually play in crypto again, Vinay, until Christmas. You believe that? So their next game at crypto is on Christmas. They do have a Clipper game next Saturday at Intuit, which I'll hopefully be at. But doing well, man. Holding up. Holiday season, gift buying. Was that how I don't know, the deal. I think pretty much all Brown families I know go to Costco and just absolutely gift going through there. A lot of the
We buy our gifts in bulk. We try to buy
yes,
them in bulk.
yes, about like 8 jackets, 10 sweatpants, all to gift away to families and stuff. But how are you holding up?
I'm doing good, man. It's been interesting to watch. It's been interesting to watch just kind of how everybody has been responding to what's been going on with the Lakers. There's this thing where um, there was this thing where like Austin didn't look good for 2 games, so people
Mm,
were a little upset about that. That came on the heels of the Rich Paul thing, so that was a thing. So um, the good part is the holidays have been really good. After this stream, I will be traveling overseas on vacation for 9 days in Italy, which is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I'll be back before Christmas, so I'll be back here stateside to watch the Houston the Rockets game versus
yes.
the Lakers. I might be a little jet lagged, but I'll definitely be watching that. It is much better than last year when I had to watch the Christmas Day game like at 2 o'clock in the morning when I was in Paris.
Yeah.
So against the Warriors, that was the Austin Reeves game winner game again over
Yes.
Andrew Wiggins. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to just kind of getting a little bit of downtime, but also kind of curious to see what happens with this basketball team because this team has been very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And we're 17-7, but you wouldn't believe it. You would think that we were like 7-17 with the way people have been kind of
Well,
acting.
so before we get to that, I think we just have to do. I think this was kind of why the cup was created, Vinay,
Mm-hmm.
is to create playoff type games in December. I still think there needs to be some benefit to winning the cup that has something to do with the ultimate goal, which win the title. Because as much as however much the money it is, just I don't think that moves enough of the needle for the top players, right? And so obviously the end of the bench guys would run with their hair cutting on fire, but they're not the ones playing the games. So but just thoughts on OKC Spurs, which felt like a quick. I haven't seen any of the Back to the Future movies or whatever, but this feels like a little peek into the future, where it's like, oh, this is what the future of the NBA is, and how close are you to it, right?
Yeah.
This is the ruler that every team should be kind of comparing themselves to. So, what are your quick thoughts on OKC Spurs that just finished?
Yeah, I thought that was definitely a look into the way basketball is probably going to be played in the future in terms of like you're going to have rim protectors that can also space the floor, but are
Okay.
also like nimble enough to get down. Like a Chet Holmgren today had a couple of plays where he like went from the 3-point line and made it all the way to the rim to block a shot in a half court setting, which is kind of crazy. Same thing with Wembanyama. It was funny. I was watching when I was watching the Spurs play defense. You and I coined that term last year about the Lakers doing stupid switching, where they just switch everything, and then it's that tactical switching that they do.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the Spurs with Wembanyama, like um, OKC's trying to run screens on the backside to get Wemby to come up to the perimeter so that they can then attack. But like he would quickly recognize it and yell to his teammate, like, no, you have to go with him all the way to the top because I'm not leaving this spot. And like those kind of like small things, I'm like, man, I wish we did that because that would be
Yeah.
nice instead of taking some of these awful switches that we do. But I think that's the future. I think like what you're watching is like you watch Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox. I would say Harper and Castle are kind of big guards. They're a little closer to like wing
Yes.
size, small wings. Those two were doing a really great job. And then obviously OKC does it with Caruso, with Lou Dort. Shea is a big guard. He's not a small guard. Jalen Williams is a big guard, not a small guard. So it's just like that might be the future. We used to think that the future of the NBA was a team that just has like 5 guys that are like 6'8", but it might be a team that has like like a true, not Wemby, but like somebody like Wemby or Chet kind of defender, and then really like 6'5" guards that can really defend. So we'll see. I thought it was a great game though.
I see that you didn't want to do the 6'7" thing. I could tell you were
I'm
trying to stay
trying
away,
hard,
bro.
dude. I'm trying
trying
hard,
to stay
bro.
away. You know what's so funny, bro? Being at the games, they show the people at the jumbotron. Every single kid does the 6'7"
Oh
thing
my
when they go on the jumbotron, and I still just don't understand it at all. I guess
dude,
Vegas had a 6'7" camera out there where they were
oh,
kind of going around looking for people to do the 6'7" thing. No, I think you're right. Castle to me is a star. Like that is a
oh, he's so good.
star.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of young Kawhi, where it's just
Yes.
very I don't know, like no emotion, like very much stone cold face. Organizations do this where they seem to draft the same player decades later, and he seems like a guy that kind of matches that. Very George Hillish, right? Very much just stoic in his approach. But what kind of stood out to me,
Significantly stronger than he looks. Way stronger than he looks. They let
oh,
him guard guys that are much stronger and heavier than he is, and he holds his ground pretty well against those guys.
yeah, and no flash, right? What I like about him is just he's not trying. He's like if he has a dunk, he's dunking. Like there's no, he doesn't play with the ball too much. Very straightforward, makes the right pass, and he is a rim seeker. Just goes right to the rim, right to the front of the rim every time. What stood out to me though is there's just no mismatches on the floor to hunt. Like there's like Hartenstein, Chet are guys maybe you can attack, but both of those guys are kind of all defense type dudes. Hartenstein, great rim protector. Chet is just all world 4 on the defensive end. Shea is at least at worst an average defensive guard, if not, helpful on that end. And the Spurs, like De'Aaron Fox, maybe, but he's so long and he can pick your pocket. And like I'm gonna stop posting Wemby offensive clips, Renee, because I don't think it matters. His defense is just absurd. Like he changes the absolute geometry of the floor. He came in, they were down 11 right away, and everyone's like, "Oh, is this over? Should we turn the TV off? Like, is OKC gonna win?" He came in, I think they went on like a 9-2 run, and from there the game was pretty tight. I think OKC made a couple more pushes to push the lead up, but yeah, that is a world defensive changing type player. So yeah, that was a fun game. This isn't the pod to compare the Lakers to the Spurs or OKC because we have a lot of other stuff to get to. But it was striking to just watch athletes at every position. Maybe a dude can play in that type of environment, and after that, like the amount of athletes they have is just nuts. So I thought that all that kind of stood out in watching, two futuristic type teams play while everyone else sits at home. Spurs Knicks on Tuesday, I think, is the next game.
Yeah, I forgot when the next game is, but that'll be the matchup, and that'll be also another interesting matchup. Karl Anthony Towns, another floor spacing 5. They played against Orlando. I watched the game earlier. They played Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson at the same time. But is Wemby going to force them to have to pick one to play on the floor against him because of just kind of how he moves around? So it'll be interesting to see. I will say there were some of the stuff before we go on to the Lakers stuff. It was interesting to see Wemby sort of get blitzed when he put the ball on the floor, because I thought that was something that really they had to kind of figure out. Like, he can't put the ball on the floor and go to the rim because he's so tall that he has to get really low to dribble the ball. So that might throw him off, like his footwork and everything off a little bit. Um, they tried to get him on a one-on-one against Chet on the perimeter, and I was just like, oh, if they don't help him, Chet's gonna he's going by Chet. And he hit this crazy three earlier. He hit a crazy three over like Isaiah Hartenstein, and I was
Yeah.
just like, bro, this is like a 7-1 guy defending this three. Like you can't do anything against that.
No,
And
no.
OKC very clearly, like their game plan was anytime Wemby puts the ball on the floor or even thinks about putting the ball on the floor, like we're sending multiple guys at him. And they had some great defense against him, but I think he's going to be a problem. He has his flaws or his weaknesses. I wouldn't say flaws. There are some weaknesses because of his height against
Yeah.
him. But if he gets in the post, dude, you're not contesting any of his shots. He had one where he was falling down, and Chet was still jumping to block him, and as he's falling down, he still shoots it over Chet. So I was just like, I don't know how you deal with that, other than maybe you hope that you can shut down his teammates. It might be one
Yeah.
of those Jokic things where, hey, we're just gonna let you score a whole bunch of points, but we're not gonna let your teammates score.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if he ever reaches that offensive peak. He still seems very lanky, right? He's kind of in like the Kevin Durant, like he's trying to be a KD disciple, kind
Yeah,
of like. I just think the ball stays in the air too long on his dribbles for him to do that. His handle also isn't. KD walked in the league with one of the best kind of handles for a wing, but his defense just changes things, and him paired with Castle. Devin Vassell, I think, is the next probably guy up for them where they can move. I'm guessing. Like he played good today. It's just I'm interested to see how they kind of fit all those guards around him. But yeah, watching the Lakers and Spurs play, like getting ran out of the building, effort for sure. Lakers could have played harder, but it felt like the Spurs kind of took that game. We'll get into that, but yeah, Spurs OKC definitely felt like two teams that are kind of on a different athletic tier at least than a lot of the league can get to. So that was a fun
yeah,
game. This is what the cup's for. These type
yeah.
of games.
Yeah, and I would say all up in all, like all of these games, even the Orlando game was pretty close up until they kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter. I would say that these NBA Cup games have been pretty. The last round of games were the quarterfinals where everybody's getting blown out. That wasn't very fun, but these semifinal games have been really great. They've been very
Yeah.
competitive, and I would hope that the finals will be competitive too as well. So let's transition on, Raj.
Yes.
We talked about competitiveness, what OKC looks like, what San Antonio looks like. Let's talk about the Lakers. We have been watching the Lakers all season long be really a tremendous offense, even without LeBron James. And then LeBron comes back for about 7 games now. And now that he's back, there's been some concerns about the defense. And the offense, they're still working their way through it a little bit. And they're trying to figure out exactly what, his turn, usage rates, all that sort of stuff. They're still working on trying to figure all that stuff out. But one of the things that has been really interesting to see sort of with this team is the defense is suffering. Like that is like abundantly clear that that's happened. And before I hand this off to you, let me just preface what I mean by the defense is really suffering. Prior to LeBron joining the starting lineup, and this is not to point out LeBron, I'm just giving you the major switch that happened for the folks who are listening. Prior to LeBron joining, Marcus Smart was starting for the Lakers. And the Lakers had a defensive rating of about 102, which is really good.
Okay.
It's like almost a 90th percentile for that 5-man group. It was one of the best 5-man groups defensively in the league for the amount of possessions that they had played, through about 175 possessions. Since LeBron has come back, he's basically taken Marcus Smart's role, and their defense has now gone from 102, 103 to about 122, which is really bad. This is like bottom 20th percentile. So with that being the case, there's been a stark switch in what we're seeing out of the defensive side with them. Where do we start with how we discuss what's happening?
On the defensive end, yeah, I mean, I think they need Marcus Smart's defense, of course. Like, I think that he's the better defensive player than Rui. But I think the Lakers have a dribble penetration problem along with switching, right? And I think we just switch. We had this conversation very many times here, but defense is obviously a reactionary position. But I think the best defenses actually are aggressive and, they're on the offensive, right? Is actually how these defenses play. Watch OKC and Spurs today. Both those defenses aren't how I was kind of describing this to people, that I was talking to. Lakers play defense today in a survival position. You know what I mean? Kind of like just don't kill me, like, you know what I mean? That type of defense in terms of all right, like we'll just give you, they just played like a very reactionary style. And I think that's kind of plays into what you're talking about. All five of the starters, I think, play that way defensively. Drop coverage is kind of naturally a very a defense that where you're not very aggressive, right? It can be where you have guards chasing over, but really the big being back means you're kind of giving up something. You're giving up an open shot in some capacity, whether it's the guard coming off a screen, if it's the help guy coming. But I think I think there's an internal thing that has to be solved, and I think Marcus Smart isn't healthy enough to like be a guy you completely rely on right now as a starter. But yeah, I'll start there. Vinay, what do we do about this much dribble penetration that we give up in kind of unison with the amount of switching we do? Is that
Yeah.
Is that a solvable problem? I have an
Yeah.
answer, but I want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So I okay. So there's that causation correlation thing that we need to discuss about this, right? So this I want to talk about the switching thing because
Yeah.
that is something that we need to figure out whether there's a correlation between what we're doing or is the lineup the cause of why we're doing that.
Mm,
And I personally think that because we run the starting group that we run,
mm-hmm,
we it is that is the root cause of why we switch so much. And that's
mm-hmm,
specifically because none of the guys that we have on the floor outside of Austin Reeves, LeBron, Luca, and Rui Hachimura, none of those three guys are capable of fighting through a screen because they're big dudes. So it's not one of those things where they don't want to. But there's also a little bit of they don't want to have to do that too as well because
sure.
it does require energy. You gotta eat a nasty screen, or if it's a smaller guard doing it, you're gonna get hip checked or something like that. But I think because we run that starting group, it encourages the guys on the defensive side to switch assignments. And I think that really, really hurts the Lakers because when teams know that you're just going to switch the assignment, they can dictate what the matchup is that they want.
Yeah.
And I think first and foremost, when we discuss the Lakers defense, and I know people have talked about athleticism and speed, so I'm certainly going to talk about that. But the first thing I want to talk about, because I think the root cause is the starting group. I think you and I have been pretty adamant that like, hey, I don't know if this is going to work long term because of what we're seeing now. Um, I think the root cause of these issues is the starting group, not because they're not capable of doing it or they don't want to do it, but purely because of like that's a heavy ask, I think. And I think if nothing else, it encourages bad habits of switching to start games and it allows teams to dictate stuff. And like this is before we even get into, hey, only four guys are running back in transition. And every time four guys run back in transition, it's a different guy that's not running back. Sometimes it's Rui not running back. Sometimes it's Luca not running back. Sometimes it's LeBron not running back. So now you have a bunch of different guys. Like now it's I can't just go to one guy, right? I can't just go to like Luca and be like, Luca, stop complaining to the refs. You got to get back on defense, right? Because it's not him consistently doing it every time. Sometimes it's a different guy. So I think that is something that we have to discuss. The root cause being the root cause of all the switching that we hate to start games being because of the starting group that we have. Is that a fair thing to say based on what you've seen from this season?
I think that's how I'll answer is I think switching is probably the place they got to with that starting lineup that allows them to play the most consistent base defense they can.
Mhm.
Right. And so can Luca chase over screens, Vinay? I think he can. Like I remember watching over the summer, we were watching, I was like, Luca's defending, like he's guarding, he's giving back pressure, like he's doing all these things that he wasn't really maybe has to do here. Austin, you just mentioned, can chase over. Austin's a chaser. Like against in the playoffs, we put him on Klay Thompson, we put him on all these guards, put him on John
Mhm.
Morant, put him on Steph Curry as a guy to chase over screens, as a guy who can get. LeBron takes the path of least resistance, which again, as a 40-year-old, I totally understand. Rui, I think, speaks to the thing you're talking about, where his just body is physically unable. Like Rui getting Buddy healed is
Yeah.
just death. Like he's not going to be able to get out to that. Rui even guarding Harrison Barnes, Vinay, last night. Like
Yeah.
just he can't travel that far on the
Yeah.
court. I'm gonna flip this because I think this is a place that people don't like to go to because I think the names don't match the numbers. And
Sure.
so starting lineup can't score. Like they can't score. And so, yes, do they need to play better defense? 100%. That starting lineup, like you mentioned, has a 120 defensive rating. My more concerning, yeah,
To
go ahead.
add to Roger's point, I'll give you some data behind it. That same exact starting lineup with LeBron instead of Marcus Smart is scoring less than it did when Marcus Smart was a starter. So you would expect at least the offense to go up from 115 to better. It's actually at 111, so it's performing worse offensively too as well. So
Yep.
that's an alarming trend for sure.
Yeah, NBA.com has it at 107 right now
Yeah.
in six games. I mean, so 107 would rank. I think I just checked it out. It would rank last. Actually, it would be the worst in the league by a lot. So the
Mhm.
worst in the league is actually 108.5. Indiana, it's a full point below that. They are scoring at disgusting levels. This is with Vinay. I just want to put this out. It's with Luka Doncic scoring like
40.
15 points
Yeah.
in first quarters, right? Where this lineup plays so much. So yes, is there defensive issues? Of course. This team, I don't think anybody looked at this team going, that's a defensive monster. I think Aiton has done you were super high on Aiton, and I think Aiton has done a job that's very thankless, but he
Yes.
does it he does it every night, and God bless him, has amazing quotes about this, and I think he's figured out the perfect relationship with Laker fans. Honestly, it's become really like novel in terms of
Yeah.
his conversations. But in any case, I've kind of been adamant that this is a team that feeds off its offense, and
Yeah.
so if they're not scoring, they are also putting other teams in transition. Another place we are god awful. I don't know if you have those numbers. I don't have
We're
them in
like
front
dead
of me.
last. You don't even. I don't
Yes.
even. I looked it up the other day. We're like
Okay.
20th in the league
Yeah.
defensively.
I haven't looked it up, but just you can visualize it. I'm sure
Yeah.
people listening, those guys on one end who are slow moving laterally on the court aren't moving that fast vertically either,
Yeah.
transitioning. Stephon Castle, I think, got 15 points the other day just from rebound and
Take down
we
play.
call them push ahead dribbles, right? Where you just push the ball ahead of you and scored. So is that bailing them out, Vinay, saying that like I think the offense actually needs to be like, to me that's more a glaring concern that has seeped into the defense.
Sure.
Does that make sense? That's
No, no,
kind of how, yeah.
yeah, no, I get it. I think there's definitely also been a conversation because those first quarters typically are very Luka centric
Yes.
quarters. The most recent one against the Spurs wasn't very Luka centric. I think he was kind of he didn't really do too much until after I think LeBron subbed out. They tried to get like Aiton and Braun a little more
Mhm.
in rhythm to start the game. I think they were trying to attack because they didn't have Wembanyama, so they were trying to attack the Spurs to dictate the kind of tone and pace of the game early on. But for the most part, it's always been Luka kind of first quarters. You and I have jokingly said many times on the pod, like, look, bro, like those first quarters are all Luka. Like, I don't. That was actually the reason I think you and I made the argument that you should play defensive guys in that starting unit because, like, instead of a guy like Rui, because Luka's not passing the ball anyways, he's going to shoot it. So you don't need more offensive guys on the floor to begin with.
Yeah.
But your original question being, like, is the poor offense also resulting in affecting their defense? I do think to some degree it does that way. Like, I certainly think that's something that happens. I do think that some of it is due to the fact that we were reincorporating LeBron into
Mm,
at least into these lineups. So as like LeBron has ramped up better offensively, that number has gotten a little bit better. And then obviously when you have like an awful game against a team like the Spurs or like
sure.
that's gonna happen. It's gonna nosedive really fast. But I'm so my only thing is I agree with you, but I think I would just flip it the other way. I think the defense is hurting the Lakers more because if you can't get any stops with this with your team, you're not even
Then
generating any like synergy offensively, right? Like so it's like it's one thing to not be a team that generates a ton of turnovers and there's actually a stat. What percentage of This is from Cleaning the Glass. That lineup with LeBron in it is there's a stat that lets you know what is the percentage of possessions the opposing team results in a turnover. Lakers are
Yeah.
doing that with that lineup at a 9% rate, 9%, almost 10% rate. That is almost dead last in the league for a 5-man lineup. But again, you compare that to what it was with Marcus Smart instead of LeBron. Again, for anybody who's listening, you're going to hear me juxtapose Marcus Smart versus LeBron. This is not a LeBron issue. This is just I want to describe the importance of defense. With Marcus Smart, it was 18%, which means that 18% of the possessions against that 5-man group resulted in a turnover. That's easy layups. That's rhythm building. That's removing offensive possessions for the opposing team. That's double. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you have that much, and that 18% is 85th percentile for a 5-man group in the league. So like you could see how much of a difference that makes. And so the way I'm thinking of it is that they open these games, like this starting group, when they play together, it seems like they're playing to just outscore the other team. They're not really playing to play defense and we're the best lineup in the league. So we're going to try and, put that. Like when OKC runs their closing groups of like the Kason, Caruso, Shea, Jalen, Chet, like they're looking into like, no, we're going to kill you on both sides. We're not just killing you on one side of the court. And this Lakers group is not doing that. And I think, like you said, it gets worse if they can't score. So now if Luka comes out and he's not making shots, it can get ugly really fast because, now you're trying to find the person that's going to score buckets for you guys. And so it's something that has to get figured out. But I guess maybe the only place where we diverge, if you want to even say that, is I think that the defense, like there has to be something better than what we're doing now.
Yeah. I guess my question is why do you think the turnovers are being created more? Is it Marcus's motor and energy you think that is jumping that? Again, I'm not saying you're comparing Marcus to LeBron,
sure.
obviously. Just like in terms of flowing defensively, because we just started this whole thing with switching, right? And so even when Smart was on the floor against the Spurs just said, we're not attacking Marcus Smart. Like
we'll attack somebody else.
Like whoever, we have 3 ball handlers. We can, I can go give the ball to Dylan Harper. I can give the ball to Stephon Castle and give it to Darren Fox. Who you guarding? Marcus Smart, Fox. All right, Fox is gonna go camp in that corner and like you chill there. Now Smart can still impact things. He can still call out plays. He can still be a brain on the defensive end.
Yeah.
But if Dylan Harper is calling up Luka Doncic for the screen, then like there's really not much Smart can impact there. I'm not saying don't play defensive minded guys. But I'd be curious to look at why the turnover rate, because LeBron and Luka should be creating turnovers. They are guys who do play in passing lanes, which is kind of interesting that the turnover rate is super low. And again, I think offense flows the defense, and I think both are obviously synergistic, right? Like basketball, as I think George was saying, it's a flow sport, so both sides go. My question, Renee, though, is okay. You start Marcus Smart. How does that help? How does that solve this? Do you think the Lakers will stop switching as much if Marcus Smart starts?
Yeah, because I think in nature. So when you and I discuss basketball players, this is what makes Lakers detailed. What is Lakers detailed? But like when we discuss basketball players, we never discuss them on a single layer, right? Like we don't talk to them just analytically. We don't say this guy affects. Like I'm not saying Marcus Smart is the sole reason why your turnovers are
of course not.
double when instead of LeBron, right? Like there has to be functionally and behaved. There has to be a technical skill that Marcus Smart has, or a functional behavior that Marcus Smart has when he's on the floor with that unit that's causing that to happen. So what I think is the technical skill is he doesn't allow himself to be screened. So if he's placed on the primary ball handler, he's not allowing himself to be screened, which forces defenses, which is something that's happened to the Lakers, which forces the opposing team to say, either we're running the offense with this guy or we have to go and find somebody. We have to go to the secondary ball handler. So that automatically, I think, puts the Lakers in a position where it's just like, okay, the primary action you're trying to get to with the trigger man is now gone because Marcus Smart's like, no, I'm not leaving this guy.
Yeah.
I think that is functionally one thing that happens. And his technical skill is he's a hunter. Like he's not going to allow his prey to get away from him. he's going to stay on him the entire time. That's a behavioral thing. That's a technical skill ability that he has. And then if he knows that he's wiped his guy out, meaning like let's say he's guarding Devin Vassell, and he knows that the Spurs love running off ball stuff for Devin Vassell, so he's going to track him all the way. But then the Spurs go, all right, you know what? Like we're not running this because these are like 50-50 plays. We're going to go in a different direction. We're going to go put Devin Vassell in the corner. Well, Marcus Smart is still very, very capable of helping out on the backside zone stuff, the weak side stuff. He's very helpful at playing the passing lanes if it's a long cross court pass, that sort of thing. He's very good at rebounding, helping with defensive rebounding, which is an important thing that we need, that we struggled with too. Even though we have 3 6'9" guys on the floor, for some reason we don't do a very good job defensive rebounding as a team. Like all that stuff matters, even though it's
100%.
just one person. And like a lot of people will be like, oh, why would one person make such a difference? I don't know what to tell Laker fans, but one person apparently does make a huge difference for this team. That's what the data is telling me. That's what my eyes are telling me. So that's what I think it is. I think the fact that there's one person that's willing to say, yeah, I'm not switching off my guy. Like my job is to wipe this guy out of the game. I'm gonna make sure that I wipe him out of the game. I think that just makes everybody's life easier. And I think the Lakers not having that in the starting lineup is really, it encourages the other behavior, which is screen Luka, you got him. Screen Braun, you got him. Screen Rui, you got him. And then all of a sudden, Raj, the San Antonio game, just as an aside, the San Antonio game, we played a zone defense. And we played a zone defense with LeBron, Luka, Rui. I don't know if Austin was on the floor. He might have been. And I know Ayton was on the floor. And bro, we were playing a zone defense like a high school team. Like we didn't know how to play zone. Like the Spurs were just swinging the ball around. There'd be like 3 guys trying to block one Spurs player at the rim. And I was just like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is a zone defense? All of you guys don't need to be going to try and challenge the shot. And, like they would do kick out passes to Harrison Barnes in the corner. And then people were getting upset because I think Luka was the last guy to contest it. And they're like, oh, Luka, that was your rotation. I was like, no, Luka's guy standing at the top of the 3-point line. Like he's trying to cover 2 corners. We're just not playing very well in his own defense. Yeah. All that to say, even the stuff that you're supposed to be good at when you play a big lineup, like a zone defense, you're not doing that well either, which means there's a issue with what that group is doing in general.
There's a connectivity issue that I've seen, and I like you again. You watch OKC tonight, and every single dude knows exactly where they're supposed to be. There is no question of, is the help coming from the nail? Is it coming from the wing? Where's the double coming from? Is it coming from the top of the key? Is it coming from the corner? Like there were times in the Spurs game, to go back to that, where Harrison Barnes could have sat there, called his parents, and be like, "Hey, I'm in the game, about to shoot a 3."
Yeah.
And then take it. And that, to me, that's caused from just way too much pointing. And we're tiptoeing around some of this. But like, again, I think I agree with you. I just don't know if Marcus Smart's body is at the place where you can put him, and that was always my argument for Rui starting, was just, I didn't trust Marcus's health. Vinay, I just believe he's going to go through these bouts of missing 6 games, come back.
It's been a 3
thing. Yeah, they're trying to get him to hopefully May, you know what I mean, like to those late playoff rounds, and he's a guy that they are managing, so any nick and cranny that he feels, he's going to sit until that thing is healed. But I do think, like, yes, I think Marcus Smart starting would help the defense in terms of be able to chase over. I do think there's a level of accountability that the other starters need to take on a nightly basis. I think this team needs to play hard defensively in a way where it's tough to gauge, because I think when they're scoring at the rate that Luka and Austin can, and LeBron, there's a world where you don't have to try that hard. There was a game against the Pelicans, Vinay. Pelicans had nobody playing. Yeah. They had like Justin Fears, the guy we like, Jeremiah Fears, Jeremiah Fears was starting. They had their other rookies starting. Derek Queen was starting. And so, no Zion.
And, no Micah PV is who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
The other third rookie.
Right. No Zion, no Trey Murphy, no Herb Jones. And the Lakers were scoring a ton, but just 0 defense was played in that game. And so they cut it to like 12 where the starters had to come in. But yeah, this team has kind of gotten into the habit of not, defending at the requisite amount. I think on Sunday in Phoenix against Phoenix, you're going to see a better defensive effort because they've gotten their butt kicked like 3 of the last 5 games. My question was going to be, I understand the smart change, I guess, the culture of the starting lineup to you, defensive culture. Because I think this is what we're kind of speaking about, right? You're saying it's not an ability thing to you, like, because I think both of us think Luka's actually improved defensively this year. He's been better at staying in front of guys to an extent. I still think there's these tendencies to pass a player off when he hasn't created any advantage.
Sure.
That's a bad habit the Lakers have.
Mhm.
No advantage was created, but we're gonna switch anyway just because it's much easier. It's less on the legs, but I guess, does Marcus Smart change the culture of really quick, Ashan mentioned the Banshees on the Suns. JJ today at
Mhm.
practice said they haven't had any Banshees this season, so he hasn't used that term at
Mhm.
all. But in any case, yeah, is that a culture thing to you, think, or is this does Marcus Smart just starting change the schematic nature to the way the Lakers would play?
I think I wouldn't use the culture. I don't think culture. So I think he would change the. Yeah, okay, so let me answer your question. Yes, I think he does change the culture of that starting group. So I'll say
Yeah.
yes to that. I think he changes the defensive culture from what his focus is on. Like,
Mm,
I think Luca goes into starting games, thinking, "How am I going to attack the defense to score a whole bunch of points to set the offensive tone for our team?" And I don't think the Lakers in the current starting group have somebody who does the opposite. Says, "How am I going to set the defensive tone for our team to start this game?" And it's kind of interesting because I know Gabe Vincent said that earlier today. I think he said something to, I think, when he got interviewed, he said that, like, hey, it's important to, like, set the physical tone of the
physical
game to the
tone.
refs because you can't
Yeah.
do it midway through a game. And then everybody was quote tweeting him like, oh, who's Gabe Vincent? Like, this guy sucks. He's 0-0-0 across the board. And I was just like, okay, I'm probably not the right messenger considering like what you've got, but
Sure.
like what he's saying is not wrong. Like,
Right.
a lot of teams come in and say, "Yeah, we're just gonna come out and be either overly physical, or we're just gonna foul you a bunch of times to see
Okay.
if the refs are gonna call it or not, and then we know how to play the game the rest of the game."
Do you so people will get mad at Gabe Vincent being the sixth starter, basically, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anytime LeBron's out,
Feels like
Austin's
that'd be
out,
number
Luka's
one right
out,
now. Yeah,
Gabe Vincent is gonna start. You think I believe this to be true, that JJ looks at Gabe as one of the dudes who sets the
a
defensive
defensive tone.
tone.
Hmm.
Can Gabe Vincent set your defensive tone? I guess would be your physical defensive tone.
I think he wants to. I think Gabe in his nature is trying to be that guy.
I
I think
agree.
he's trying to
I agree.
fulfill the role that JJ envisioned. Remember, we did this exercise last year,
Yes.
Raj. Remember,
Yes.
Gabe came into Gabe's and just played defense and rebounded. I remember I was on the timeline saying, "Hey, man, Gabe's like boxing out Demontis
No one cares
Sabonis."
about that, Vinay. No one
And
cares
yeah,
about box outs.
and then people are like, "Oh, he must really suck if you're talking about boxing." I'm like, "Bro, nobody on our team boxes out, so like it is a good thing." And then I remember you made the joke. You actually asked a question on the pod. You were like, "Because Gabe wouldn't shoot the ball. Like he
He would
like
not. He would
straight up should
refuse.
not shoot the
Yes.
ball." And then you asked the question out loud. You're like, "Do you think JJ's telling him he has to shoot the ball?" And I was just like, "I don't think he
No.
is. I think JJ's telling him go box out and rebound and play really good defense." And this might be his role still might be exactly the same. Do I agree that that should be his role? I don't know. I mean, we've had games where Gabe comes out guns blazing, like the Boston game. He came out guns blazing. He was just like, "I'm going to shoot this ball every
Yeah.
time."
No Luca.
Like
No LeBron. Right.
nobody,
So
like I got to shoot the ball, and he's right. Like we didn't have anybody else. We needed somebody else to shoot the ball. But I think that tone setting, like there has to be something like that in that starting group, because I've been juxtaposing LeBron versus Marcus Smart, but really the guy that we discussed that has to maybe be the substitute is Rui, and there's a whole layer of complication with that too as well. Most Laker fans would be like, yeah, just make that substitution anyways. There should be no
ooh,
issue with substituting Rui for Marcus Smart, which we'll get to in a second because the lineup change
ooh,
topic is the very next topic that we're going to discuss, and I want to make sure that we're staying on time with our topics. But I do think that starting group, it has to, like, the defensive woes with that starting group are primarily because you have guys that all kind of want to do the same thing. It just encourages bad habits, and um, I don't think any of those three guys, Luca, Rui, and Braun, I don't think they're going to change their ways either because they never have had to, or because that's not what they get paid for. We're not paying Luca to be in a super defender. Like we want him to go and score 50 a night for the Lakers. Um, LeBron, the expectation has been okay that he wouldn't have to do as much on offense, so maybe he does a little bit more on defense. But look, he's also 4,000 years old, so that might not happen. And that was also something that it was a wait and see thing. Is he going to do it? He had 3 chase down blocks, 3 blocks the Spurs game. So that was great to see. But obviously you want something a little bit more defensively from him. And then Rui, we know Rui is not a defensive guy. So it's just like, I don't know what people are expecting out of him, but that's not his strength. So I think that's your core issue, that you have to figure something out with those 3.
So I love that you pointed this with Gabe, because I think this is a great way to kind of look at how this team is constructed and what their every night expectation is, right? So if I'm Gabe Vincent, right, if you want me to take all the online criticism, which I will, you want me to play hard, you want me to not take shots, which again, the ball handling cup on this team is filled to the top. There is 0 left for me, which is fine. Then y'all gotta score.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's part of this as well. Like, yes, do they need to play harder? Do they need to stay in front of their guys more? Yes, 100%. And I'm not saying, obviously, this Lakers detailed. We love defense. We love Alex Caruso. We supported AD and told people how good AD is, even when he scores 8 points because of his defensive impact. This team is built around, and let's be clear here, it's built on Austin and Luka getting 25 to 35 a night. LeBron getting his 20 to 25, and then Rui knocking down open corner threes
on however many shots he might get.
On whoever shots he gets. He took 1 shot one game, and he was like, "Look,"
the next.
He's like, "Look, sometimes I might not touch the ball."
Yeah,
you know how crazy that is to say. Like, Rui's in the league because he can score like that, and like he's publicly telling you, sometimes I won't touch the basketball.
Yeah.
And these are things that have all been accepted because this is how the team is 17-7, right? We talked about this with DeAndre Ayton. It's much easier to be like, he didn't find me on the lob. It's Luka Doncic, and we're winning. What can I got to smile and laugh. It's a little different when you're 6-17 and Scoot Henderson not passing you the ball, right? So this is
Absolutely.
how all this stuff matters. But I guess my main point is I think this team has kind of lost some of its offensive rhythm, and not blaming anyone for this, but there's a this is LeBron's preseason, and and so Austin had to carry a load. Now he's shaking up, right? And I think all these things have kind of, Luka had a kid, and was out for
missed a couple games,
missed a couple games, and just came back. And so LeBron didn't play in the back-to-back, Luka didn't play in the back-to-back. All these things kind of, I think, have culminated in a team that I think people are overreacting a little bit in terms of the high nature of the reactions, but I think this team needs to be able to score. But I'm with you. I think, look, a defensive wing in that spot is probably what they would want. We can flow this now into the next layer of this, which I think is the not most talked about, but the most interesting one, because none of the other 4 starters are changing.
Yeah.
So every other starter is staying the same. You can't change anyone else. People saying Austin the bench. Some agents are saying Austin to the bench. That is not. That is
one agent saying that.
One agent, excuse me, one agent is saying Austin to the bench. That is not going to happen. Me and Vinay can report that here. And so,
the future is now, old man.
Oh, you're gonna get us in trouble, man. But in any case, the conversation has become Rui or Marcus Smart, and so
yes.
I think you want to sell Marcus Smart as the starter, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So I think the data just, again, this is one of those things where I think JJ is much, much smarter than he lets on. And I don't envy the position that he's in right now, because he's getting asked questions he can't answer like he's a very blunt dude. Like I've seen him answer questions like very, very frankly. And like lately he's been getting asked questions in a roundabout way of it's like, hey, yeah, your defense kind of sucks. What do you think is going wrong with your defense? He's just like, oh, we just don't have good defensive principles. And sometimes like today, somebody asked him a question like, okay, so today he had an answer, which I thought was great because he sidestepped what he wanted to say. But if you read
Yeah.
between the lines, you can see what he says. He gets asked a question, I think, about their defense and whatnot, and like what they've been working on. And he openly says he's just like, look, I'm not going to act like I'm not going to be like, oh no, our defense sucks. What are we going to do? He's just like, I'm always going to think that we can get to where we have to get to. But there is a small thing that he did in his answer, which maybe is neurotic of me to look at it, but that's what I am. He said, our goal, what we've been trying to do, is establish the defensive principles, and then he stops and he goes, reestablish the defensive principles that we had going through the early start of the season, which led to our success. And then he further elaborates to say, we've lost those principles over the last 10 games, and we have to get back to doing what we were going to do. So I sat there and he said his answer and everything was cool. He ends the answer. And then after that is when he says, I'm not going to be like, oh, our defense sucks and blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to always assume that we can get better or get our habits better. But the funny part was like the way he said it, because he said reestablish defensive principles. So I was just like, okay, so he does know that there's something's fundamentally changed with what the team is doing. Let's do it. And then he followed it up by saying the last 10 games. So I was just like, okay, if I wanted to really start a civil war on Twitter, Lakers Twitter, I'd be like, well, what changed in the last 10 games that affected the team? I mean, well, the starting lineup changed. I mean, we don't have to like dance around it. Like the starting lineup changed. That's essentially what happened. That's what this whole conversation is about. So the reason why I'm giving all this context is because when I say JJ is a smart guy, and he's made that joke about using ChatGPT and all that sort of stuff, I think he sees the same data that we see, Raj. Like I think he sees the fact that, hey, LeBron's in this lineup, and I'm not saying it's LeBron's fault, but this lineup stinks defensively. Like it's just not good. And granted, Marcus Smart has missed games, so you can't really just be like, oh, we haven't played Marcus Smart and we played him instead because he has been hurt. But now if he's healthy and he can play, you do have to broach that conversation of, hey, do we have to make the swap of Rui for Marcus Smart? Because we need to be very, very honest. Austin is not getting removed from the lineup. Luka obviously is not getting removed from the lineup. LeBron's not getting removed from the lineup. And Ayton, he's your best center, so you're not removing him. So the odd man out is going to be Rui. And that is not going to be an easy decision. Rui has to have a lot of trust in that relationship, has to be really trustworthy between those two guys if he's going to make that decision. But you're going to reach a point where you're going to have to try it, because I don't think the data is going to be in JJ's favor. And then you know how the fans are. The fans are going to be like, well, why can't JJ tell Rui to go to bench? And so that's just going to be one of those things.
Well, that's the interesting part. If the Lakers will lose enough for that to be urgent, you know what I mean? Like I think Luka, Austin, and LeBron, even with the defensive struggles the team has, Vinay, I think the floor is too high for this to become something that, again, I'm not disagreeing that a starting lineup has some definite issues, but it's just not how like this thing works, right? You can tell Rui all you want to his face, like, hey, it's not your fault, but you publicly remove me from a lineup, and only me. It has very glaring words, right? You want me to not touch the ball for full games.
Raj,
and then you want me to come off the bench?
4 pods ago, what did we say? We said eventually if LeBron comes back and whether he's playing well or he's not, if they lose games with his returner, something doesn't look right with him, even if he's ramping up, because that's what people have been saying. He's ramping up, getting back to form.
Sure. Yeah.
But we made the joke that there might be a lot of player FCs battling with. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but player FCs battling. I just want to remind folks, me and Raj said that there might be specific stand groups fighting each other. We made the joke it might be Austin FC versus LeBron FC, because Austin's been playing so great, like with the ball in his hands. But I made the joke, what happens when it's not Austin FC? What happens if it's Rui FC also with Austin FC saying, yo, we're losing, one guy's losing touches, the other guy's getting defensive blame because you came back and our numbers are bad. And now we're running into a situation like that where if I'm Rui, I'm going to play devil's advocate, Raj. If I'm Rui Hachimura and I see the same, if I'm his agent and I see the same data that you and I are talking about right now, why wouldn't I feel emboldened to say the defense was one of the best defensive 5-man lineup defensive groups when I was there before LeBron showed up? So why am I getting pulled out of the lineup for Marcus Smart when the guy that you're, okay, I get it. It's LeBron James. I get it. You're paying him max money. But why aren't you guys telling him to pick it up on the defensive side? Because it was working before he came back, and now it's not working. Now, who is Rui compared to LeBron? Obviously there's no comparison. But Rui's in a contract year. I could see why he wouldn't want to get sent to the bench. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Not just that, I would argue, Rui has not only done his job, but he's shooting 46% on threes.
He's lights out. Yeah, one of the best in the league.
He just had a game winner.
Yeah,
Marcus Smart, he just hit 8 threes against the Spurs. Now a lot of that was game was out of hand. Smart just started flinging threes and they went in. So we kind of wasted an 8-3 Marcus Smart game. But
it's good to see him knock him down, though. Yeah,
for sure. But before that game, Vinay, Marcus Smart was shooting 25% from 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And these are on wide open shots. Right. And so again, I'm not trying to wear Rui's flag here and try to cape or anything like that. I'm not trying to do that at all. I think it's very easy to say yeah, we need defense. So all right, Rui, go to the bench. These are human beings. These are locker rooms. These are, you just talked about contractual situations. These are interpersonal dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you right now, Luka Doncic likes playing with Rui Hachimura a lot.
He does. Yeah.
Because Rui will shoot when he's open. And if you don't, I remember talked to Vando today at practice, who just say did not look like a very happy camper, but in any case, Vando checked in. I think the game in Philly, the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. Vando checks in, stands in the corner, because where is he going to stand? And Luka does not he doesn't go look who's in the corner and go, I can't pass to him.
No, he just he throws it to the open guy.
Yeah. So Luka's passing to spaces. He's not passing to players. He's passing to okay, I know a guy's in the corner. I know the guy's in the corner. I know the guy's in the wing. I drive. Help comes here. This is where the pass goes. Vando's first possession, he walks in the game. Luka kicks it to Vando, clanks an open 3. Vando, I think, plays 3 more minutes, and then again never plays again. And so I'm not saying that's Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's a better shooter than Vando, but I do think JJ likes having shooting in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's part of why we discuss this a lot. I think it's why Gabe Vincent continues to start in that spot. There's a layer of somebody was asking for layers. There's a layer of spacing that also goes into this. And so I also, the
Vando starting thing, I know I've seen people be like, well, if you had started Vando, you wouldn't have these defensive issues. You guys, or not you guys, but I think Laker fans need to understand that as soon as Vando hits the floor, teams are immediately saying we're going to go double Luka with whoever Vando's guy is. And the issue isn't playing Vando. The issue is Vando's offensive confidence, not shooting ability. Offensive confidence when he gets the ball in his hands has regressed significantly. He doesn't seem confident. People make jokes about Draymond not wanting to shoot the ball, but there are some times where when Draymond's obviously being left open, that Draymond will go and attack the rim. And he'll be like, all right, I have to take a layup. I have to attempt a layup, whether I make it or not. Vando's confidence has come down significantly, and he won't attack the rim. So I think people need to understand that. The way that teams are playing defense against Vando is they're literally saying, as soon as you get on the floor, whoever's guarding you is leaving you wide open. We're just going to go double. We'll run across the court and go double Luka if we have to. But we don't think that you have the audacity offensively to go and try and score the basketball. That's a big deal.
Two things on that front. I see that comparison a lot. Number one, Draymond's in a totally different world than Vando as a playmaker, just on ball kind of curation, right? Yes, you can play off Draymond, but there's a ton of disadvantages that happen to it. Number two, even as freaking smart as Draymond is, Vinay, even with the best shooter ever created playing next to him, it still hampers the Warriors. Still. And that's what Steph Curry chasing, running around screens, an off-ball player. So you have to hit some athletic baseline, and I think there's ways to make up for it. Guys like Derrick Jones Jr., right, have become respectable enough three-point
Mhm.
shooters to now where, like, yes, are they knockdown three-point shooters? No, but they're so helpful that them just being a C plus B minus on offense kind of carries them through. I think another part of this as well, and something that I'm kind of learning is that, like, Marcus Smart and Vando, well, Marcus Smart obviously in a better way, but Vando and Smart both are very volatile. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not a straight line of like I can expect this from them.
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like Rui, like, it's very easy. JJ can go, all right, he's not gonna do this, but I know for sure, like, if he gets an open corner three,
He's
like,
shooting it.
that's a good shot, right? He's shooting it and he hits it at an extremely high percentage.
Yeah. Or
JJ
if it
called him
gets
a
like an
lazy.
ISO, he's gonna go for the mid range little jab
Yeah,
step.
like I can put you down for this,
Yeah.
right? Like, I know what you're not gonna do, and I know what you're going to do.
Mhm.
Smart, I think, like, we think we know, but there's times when Marcus Smart just decides it's Marcus Smart time, and it's like
Rich.
runs his own pick and rolls, right?
Yeah.
Luca and Austin, like, I'm tired of this. Give me the ball. It's my turn. And we're
Yeah.
like, Marcus, we just went on an 8-0 run. Why'd you give them an open transition dunk because you
Yeah.
decided to take a 360 layup? I think that stuff bothers coaches a lot more than we realize. And that's why Gabe also, like, will Gabe do a through the leg step back jump shot? No, but Gabe's going to play hard. He's
Yeah.
going to box out, like you
Yeah.
said. He's going to fight. He's going to take hits to the face.
Yeah.
He's gonna do all that, and that you can pencil him in for. Now, can you pencil him for stats? Like, it's very easy. Go, Gabe Vincent had the Torrey Snell line tonight,
Yeah.
but coaches know what he did. So I think that's part of this too. So again, I don't. We can go to predictions here now, but Vinay, do you think a starting lineup change is going to come?
Um, I think if it doesn't come, I think it is going to come at some point
Okay,
because if the data continues to trend the way it has trended, even if you're winning, if the wins start looking really ugly, something is going to have to happen. Because now I don't know how he's going to explain it. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'll put it this way. Like right now we're playing like 500 ball. If we don't include the Boston loss because nobody really played us off a back to back, I'm not including that. We're like five. We're playing like 500 ball right now. I think we're like, or we might be like 4-2 if we
four
don't
and two.
include
Yeah,
if we keep doing 2-2-1-2-1, I don't think anything's gonna happen. I don't think anything's gonna change. It's gonna be ugly, but I don't think anything's gonna change. But if that starts turning into 500 basketball, or if we start slipping the other direction, we're like 4-6 over 10 games or something like that. I think there's going to be a change come, and especially if it's as obvious as like what's happened in the Suns and the Spurs games, because it was like
mm,
very obvious how bad our defense was, and specifically how bad our defense was for it. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what the end result is, because I think the end result and how we get to that end result is going to really dictate it. I think JJ is keeping tabs on that. Like he knows that some of this stuff is not good, but at the same time, he's just like, are we surviving this until I have to actually make a decision? I think he's walking that line right now.
so again, I'm not disagreeing, but I also, like, it is no coincidence to me that the two games you just mentioned, right, and the game we almost lost in Philly, right,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well, but we
same thing.
won because LeBron had a big fourth. Those are the three bad Austin games of the season,
Yeah,
right? And so this takes me back to my floor kind of point of this, where I think Austin and Luca and LeBron will be like too good throughout a game for
mhm.
this. Like, I could be wrong, but this is kind of like the. It's funny we keep having the same conversations, but this is kind of like the Avery Bradley thing. It's like,
Oh, yeah,
and the JaVale McGee, right? That 2020 team was too good, was so good. It had two starters that you're probably like, these aren't part of the top six on the team, but
yeah,
they start because of other sentimental and other reasonings, right?
yeah,
Culture
yeah,
reasonings, which is funny, similarly that we're talking here.
yeah,
But yeah, like, very much in the, again, this team's not as good as the 2020 team, at least not yet. But like Avery Bradley starting over Alex Caruso or KCP, right? And it was kind of like, he's not better than those guys, but we understand it because
yeah.
he's supposed to play. So I'm not comparing Avery Bradley to Rui Hachimura, but they kind of are one-way players in a sense. Bradley was a little bit more of a shooter than maybe he got credit for, but in any case, yeah, I don't know. I just don't see if a change comes, I think it's gonna have to be like 3 games lost in a row
Yeah.
where
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know what I
It's
mean?
something
And
that gets really
so
loud. Yeah.
yeah, so once you get on a 3 game, like this team hasn't lost back-to-back games yet, I don't believe. I don't believe they lost
I don't
back-to-back games
think
yet.
so. No, right?
No,
Like we just
no.
lost to the Spurs, but we beat Philly before that. So
Beat
no. Yeah.
Philly, right? Lost to the
Celtics.
Suns, lost to the Suns, but beat Toronto in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And so this team hasn't lost back-to-back games yet. And so yes, do the numbers bear this out? Yes, but you also I don't like you can't bench a player based on 5 man. You know what I mean? Like that's just not how like
Uh, Let me ask you a different question, Raj.
okay.
If Rui was already making his money, if he was making like 15
Mm,
mil, let's just say whatever the number is, 15 mil, 12 mil, whatever it was. Do you think JJ would have benched him already?
I don't think so. I don't think so
Interesting.
because the team started 13-4,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting.
And so so it's funny because what's going on in Golden State, I think, is just absolutely psychotic and insane.
The DNPs, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but Steve Kerr, like the way he's selling this is, hey, I played your guy. You paid him 48 million over the summer. I gave him a shot. Didn't work.
yeah,
So guess what? I'm playing Guy Santos
yeah.
and Pat Spencer, who make 500K a game, and I'm playing those guys because they play. Did you see that quote, by the way? Like they asked Steve Kerr, like, why aren't you playing Jonathan Kuminga? Why did he collect a DMP with like Draymond out, with like everyone
Hmm.
out? He's like, did you see Guy Santos in 6 minutes like get the crowd going? What kind of answer? What kind of and so
Yeah,
so like that's an extreme version of this,
yeah.
but and I don't know if Kuminga started for the Warriors. I don't remember, but
He might have started a couple of
couple
games. I think
games,
when
yeah,
the whole group was out. I
right.
know he started one game when the whole group was out, but that's
Oh,
like
this
a really bad relation. Like
what
they dragging this into the season. I don't
Well,
think it was
well,
very smart by
well,
them.
let's flip this. Let's
Yeah,
put our situation in their head.
yeah, fair, fair.
They're 17-6,
Hmm.
and Kaminga's playing, but Kaminga is a minus net rating wise,
Hmm.
but the team
Hurting
is
the team.
7. See that's dangerous. See like this, see that's dangerous because you can't. That's a tough way to go. Like Kaminga's hurting the team versus that lineup is hurting the team. That
Sure,
5 mile, you know what I mean? I'm not
sure.
saying I'm not saying you're wrong here. I'm just saying this is how the conversations get moved.
Yeah,
Kaminga's agent's not saying he's hurting the team. Kaminga's agent's going, my guy's averaging 16-5, and you're playing a guy that averages 4-2 in
yeah.
his lineups. But in any case, if they're 17-6, I think it's much tougher to Steve Kerr to go,
Fair.
Kaminga, you're benched, right?
Yeah,
But or maybe it's easier. I don't know. But that's where I think this is. The team is kind of too good for like if they were like 500 Vinay, then I think this gets he starts tinkering with lineups.
yeah.
Hell,
No,
he
no. I'm with you,
he
dude. I think I get what you're trying to say. Like I'm with you in the sense that like I think I do agree that I think if they did have a worse record, there would certainly be some change, but they don't. They're continuing to win. I think we've said this before, that we don't think that lineup is going to change as long as the Lakers continue winning. And even if that lineup looks bad, they won't change it as long as the Lakers continue winning. And so we'll see what the end result is. I don't know when it happens because they have to
give
lose.
me the Lakers lose 3 in a row. You're JJ Redick. You got to go to Rui Hachimura and go, hey man, you know what I mean? Like, how do you have like? I know you've hit 46% of it. Shout out Art and Kim, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
Appreciate that.
I'm gonna read this. But finish your question, and then I'll read this.
Yeah, and so you gotta go to Rui Hachimura and go, hey man, look, I know you've done everything we've asked,
Yeah,
and you put your weaknesses on the table. You've tried to rebound more. We're seeing you box out a little bit more this season. You're doing the little stuff. You and Aiden have
I
become
have
more
such a funny
physical,
answer to this, but go ahead.
and so but we're gonna start Marcus Smart, who just got here this year. But we think his defense helps us a little bit more. All right, give me your answer. Before we answer this question, give me like
I'm supposed to pretend to be JJ Redick, right?
you're JJ
Or am I?
Redick. Like, is this how you're approaching Rui? Is there a better way to do this? Or you're Rui Hachimura, whoever you want to play, Vinay. Do whoever you think is more
I
interesting.
won't do Rui Hachimura because he's gonna be pissed. I'm just gonna be cussing. I'm gonna be JJ Redick. Okay, this is how I'm pitching Rui. Rui, look, I
Yeah,
know that
coach.
guy's messing it up for you, bro. Like I know.
Oh
Like
my
I
god.
know.
All right.
Like I
All
know
right.
you've been great. I know you've been making all your shots while he was gone. I know you're a big part of everything that's happened. Look, bro, I know. I don't like it either. I don't want to take you out of the starting lineup. But look, this is just kind of how it works out. You have to understand. My hands are tied. He's here. I can't do anything about it. So I just need you to trust me.
I need
need you to trust.
no. I need a realistic conversation because this is the one I know can't have that. This is not happening. So I need a realistic one because there's no
I, th-
way that conversation can happen.
I think the conversation goes like, "Hey Rui, I don't want to have to take you out of this lineup. It's not the first option. You've been fantastic in your role. I think you've done
Yeah.
a really great job. You've made the shots that we need you to make. You hit game winners. I know you've been absolutely awesome subbing for LeBron while he was out. Um, this is not something that I take very lightly because you have been helpful. You've listened to everything that we've asked you to do to the best of your ability, and I genuinely appreciate it. Um, I promise you, I will make sure that I find a way to carve out the same opportunities for you. I know it's going to feel like it's a demotion because I'm taking you out of the starting group, but we just have to try something a little bit different. And you know, I would hope that you have a friendship relationship, whatever, with me, and you trust me that I won't put you in a position, and I definitely won't tell the outward decision making about this, no matter what anybody may say, writers, people on social media. I don't feel the same way that they may feel about taking you out of the starting lineup because I do value your contributions as a player.
Yeah.
I think that's a professional way of
Yeah.
him
No,
saying it.
for
Not the
sure.
way I would
Yeah.
say it, but that's the way that he's
All right.
Okay, so let me read this. A
Yes, let's do it.
huge shout out to Art and Kim for the
Yes.
$10 super chat. Art says from YouTube, and shout out to the folks that are part of the Detailers Club. You guys can join via YouTube for $3 a month. You can support the podcast. It gives you access to the Discord where I have daily conversations with other members of the Detailers Club. We've had a great year in the Detailers Club, so it's been a lot of fun. Shout out to Art and Kim on YouTube, who says Rui shoots 46% from three, but last week he didn't touch the ball until 2 minutes left on the first quarter. How do you not find Rui and let Luka go for a 20-point quarter, but lose the game? Thank you for the question, Art. And thank you for the $10 super chat. You are awesome. Hope you're having a really great holidays and a great new year. Raj, how did we not find Rui and let Luka go for 20 points and lose the game?
Could not guard. I think he's talking about the Spurs. Is he talking about the Spurs game? The one that Rui didn't touch the ball was the Suns game. So Rui
the Suns game.
Yeah, he took
I think
one
Luka
shot.
went crazy that first quarter in that Suns game.
Right. Yeah. So that was the one where Luka went wild, and that's kind of the interesting question here. And again, I think this has been accepted throughout the roster. Kind of just, hey, this is what Luka Doncic does.
Mm-hmm.
Like he goes off. You made this point about DeAndre Ayton kind of realizing like, hey, sometimes he doesn't want me to really set anything. Like he just wants me to come up real quick, do a little brush, and then he cooks. And like whether I'm open or not really doesn't matter because he's shooting a little one leg floor. That is an interesting question, and I think this is part of the. Like I think it's a skill from Rui who can not touch the ball for 2 quarters and then catch it in the fourth quarter and knock down a three. I think that's a skill set in the NBA. A lot of NBA players talk about kind of rhythm in an offensive game, and Luka is a rhythm breaker in a good way. Like he breaks your defensive rhythm, but I think also on the offensive end, there's ways where he can kind of maybe share the ball a little bit more. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, but Rui doesn't like. You don't really find Rui like You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
Rui,
we don't run anything for Rui. Like there's
no.
nothing being run for Rui. So I don't think
And that's
it's
another point. Rui's probably like, you run nothing for me too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, again, that's a tough conversation to have. But Vinay, you talk about this all the time. That spot, you want low touch players in
High
that,
low player. Yeah.
don't you?
Rui is being the high low player that you want him to be. He's got low touches, high impact, at least on the offensive end. But it's a tricky situation. I will say, Art, for that specific game, that Suns game, Luca was just so hot that I don't think anybody was upset about Rui not getting touches. I mean, LeBron was getting touches. I don't think Austin was getting touches. Sometimes you'll get games where Luca just comes out guns blazing. But really, to connect it to some of the original stuff that we said, because we're getting close to time, Raj. I think there is a conversation about why our starting group doesn't lock in a little bit more defensively. Like when they see Luca go off, like, all right, this guy is like 5 for 5 to start the game. I think Luca hit like 5 threes till in the first
Yeah.
quarter or first half or something crazy like that. And I was just like, all right, we just got to play really great defense. And the Lakers were just like, the funniest part about that, Raj, that game was everybody was complaining about the Lakers offense against the Suns. And they're like, oh, the offense has to be better. JJ is not a good offensive coach. That's why we lost the game. I was like, bro, we let Dylan Brooks score 32 points on us. Like,
Yeah, he made
this is not
everything.
Devin Booker. This is not Kevin Durant. This is not like Colin Gillespie. I think had like 20 or something like that on it. I was like, bro, we were just letting these guys lace us all over the court. Like, our issue wasn't the offense. Our issue was not respecting them defensively and just letting them just do whatever they wanted against us. Dylan Brooks is hitting like Kobe fades on like in isolation
All
against
game.
our players. So it's just, I think fans were looking in the wrong direction as to what the issue was, but they got to, it's going to happen. That's what it's going to be like. I don't know how, bro, forget the conversation with Rui though. I know Rui's agent is going to be like, yo, what the hell, bro? Like, y'all, we're doing everything y'all are asking us to do. And you guys are
Yeah, I mean,
complaining, make your open threes, Rui. And we're like, all right, we're going to make them at a 40%, 46% clip. But now, that's not good enough. So, it
yeah.
is
And
committed. It's not easy.
And again, there's sometimes where a player does do everything right, and the correct decision is still like for them to go to the bench, right? And I think that's the whole
It's
point here
tough.
is that it is tough. Like, I remember David Lee got benched for Draymond, and like David Lee didn't do anything wrong. Draymond was just a better fit around those stars. So all this can be correct. I guess the question is if Marcus Smart is that player, and if the coaching staff sees him as that player. And my argument just has been Marcus Smart has just not been healthy enough
Yeah.
to kind of get into that. So if Smart gets healthy and plays all these games together, then I think this is a little bit more conversation. I think the kind of play the other side of this. Marcus Smart also has a very decorated resume, right? Where it's a little bit easier, I guess, to have the conversation of he's a DPOI winner, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of push that on a Rui a little bit more as, hey, you're not getting benched for a Dutiero, right? Like
Right.
that would be that's the impossible conversation. Or even I think Vando would be tough too, right? Those are like you're going so extreme in both ways. Like
Mm-hmm.
you remove Rui, you put Vando in, you're just creating a different issue. It's just on the other side of the house kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's interesting. Again, the Lakers are good throughout this. The last thing I wanted to end on, Vinay, actually, because I think this has been a lot of what do they call it, doom and gloom. But so
Oh,
I just
yeah.
wanted to,
I wouldn't even
I
say
just
that. I
wanted,
think it's just more like, yeah, but go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to finish this because Survivor Game HD, because mentioned we're
Yeah.
very far behind what seems like you need in the West to win. And I think this is the interesting kind of way to look at this. Like OKC definitely has blasted to the front, but I think they also showed like, hey, there's stuff that in a 7-game
Yeah.
series that you can kind of lock in.
Let's take for this conversation. We were going to talk about the Rich Paul thing, and we're like really, really
Oh
close to
yeah,
time. I don't want to go too far over, but I think this will fit with what this conversation is about.
yeah,
Rich, first and foremost, I'll just give my thoughts really
yes,
quick. Rich Paul came out and said, not LeBron's, the Lakers are not
not
a
contenders.
team, not contenders yet. He didn't say they're not contenders. He said they're just not contenders yet. Maybe if they make a move or two, basketball, that sort of thing. That was one thing that pissed a lot of people off. I didn't really mind that because I think I've said the same thing. Like we're not quite at that contender level. There's still a couple of things that we have to do to get there. The other thing that actually did irritate me a little bit, which is continuing to irritate me because he's talked about it again, is Max Kellerman pushed this idea of Austin Reeves being a sixth man and Rich Paul not really. What bothered me wasn't that he said that. What bothered me is that Rich Paul, knowing that his client is on the Lakers, didn't really push back on that idea. He just kind of went with it, which is fine. Annoying. I don't know if I personally don't think agents should speak on clients that are not. I don't think they should speak on clients for like or that are in like contract situations when your client is also in a contract situation on the same team, unless you're talking about your client directly. And this is not just the Lakers thing. I don't know if it's good form for them to do it anywhere else. It's the folks who are defending that side are like, well, he's just a guy. He's a grown man with a podcast. Well, he's not. Like we need to also stop that. Like he's not like Rich Paul can go to McDonald's and order a Happy Meal, and people will be like, "Oh, are you Rich Paul? You're LeBron's agent." Like he who he is doesn't change whether he's on a podcast or whether he's actually doing his job. So, the reason I bring that up, Raj, is because of this question. This idea that we're far behind what you need in the West. I want to ask you this question, reframe this question in a different way. If you talk about being a contender on the offensive side and the defensive side of the basketball, I think that we're much closer to being a contender on the offensive end of basketball. I think we have that figured out in terms of talent and how we get to that. Mm-hmm. But I think we have a ways to go defensively on that.
Most definitely.
Side. And I think if we can figure that out, we give ourselves a really great shot at. OKC's crazy, bro. They're just a crazy team. They have 9,000 lives. We won't be able to kill them. You'll have to kill them multiple times to really win a championship.
I mean, Denver almost did. Is the type of thing I like to say. Denver pushed him to 7, right? In my opinion, I don't know about you, Vinny. I'm just speaking for myself. I think if Halliburton doesn't get hurt, the Pacers are NBA champions, in my opinion. Like they were awesome. Halliburton hit every shot. Again, I think they bleed. Is all I'm saying. Now, I think obviously I think the Lakers are far from them. But this is kind of the comment every time an OKC stat gets put up. Rich Paul stuff, I think is strange, and that's as much as I like divulge. He compared he put Norm Powell and Austin Reeves in the same tier, which I just completely disagree.
I've actually I'm actually reaching a point where I hope he continues to talk more about the Lakers, because then I think eventually the audience is going to turn on him and be like, yeah, I don't think you know what you're talking about, dude. You're just kind of talking.
Yeah, no. I mean, but like again, like people are like, just separate the contender stuff from the Austin stuff. But you don't get to say one crazy thing and all the other stuff you say, we just separate that from it. If you say something crazy, the world focuses on what you said that was crazy. We don't we don't splice up your words and go, oh yeah, he was like an insane for this. But this part of the conversation, he was actually pretty tame. Like, no, that's not how this that's not how this space works. But again, they did their job. Max Kellerman, Rich Paul got the whole world talking about their podcast. That's the whole point of what they're doing in a backlit studio on the Ringer. Just they did exactly what it was supposed to do. They solved what they're supposed to do, and they're going to continue to record episodes and answer questions like this. In any case, yeah, I think what's interesting, like if you look at the Thunder, they have one top 10 player on their roster. 2,
maybe. If you want to say chat defensively is maybe closer to top, but I don't think people put him in the top 10.
Yeah, I think they have a regular season machine.
Oh, 100%.
Like that is gonna spit out wins.
Yeah,
and people are like, "Oh, Shea's not playing today," and I was like, "It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. Like they have a regular season machine, well-oiled machine that no other team can even get close to their connectivity. Their the amount of practices they've had, the amount of games played together that they've played, all that stuff is connective tissue to where like no other team can even catch up to me. Where even if Shea doesn't play, they can win pretty easily. And obviously Shea puts them in a different ceiling. But I think the Lakers are closer than people think. I think a few defensive players and tweaks here, and I like this team a lot. I think we've gotten so little of it healthy that we still don't know exactly what it is, right? Yep. LeBron, Luka, and AR played 6 games together this season. I think LeBron's played 4 with Ayton. Like, you know what I mean? And so like, it's still a work in progress, but I don't really agree that we're very far behind. I just think the playoffs are a different beast in a way. The regular season, like obviously is what prepares you, but I think there's questions in the playoffs that No, Luka's been to the finals, right? Austin's been to a conference finals. LeBron's has X amount of rings. Aiton's been to the finals. Marcus Smart's been to the finals. Like, I don't know. We have like some experienced playoff guys where I think in the playoffs is a little different. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of expand on that because I've seen this point being made a lot. That
Yeah, I mean, even if you take this rough stretch that we've had, again, just looking at the data over the past 7 games, I was looking at it. The Lakers' offense has been like the 8th best offense in the league. That's with Luka missing two games, Braun ramping up. Like he had a rough Toronto game, scoring wise, and then he bounced back against Philly
Mhm.
um, and the Spurs game was rough for but actually Braun played well offensively, but obviously Austin has had a rough Sixers and Spurs game. So even with all that happening, like the Lakers are still fielding like in the 8th best offense. The real
Yeah,
issue is they've been literally the bottom of the league defensively over the past 7 games. So I think offensively they know how they can score the basketball. They know how to pick their spots. They know how to find some balance, even though it might not necessarily be the same guy every night. Outside of Luka, who's gonna get his 35 or whatever it is that he's going for every night. But if they can figure out the defensive side, whether it's via personnel, lineup configurations, effort, whatever it is, whatever it needs to be, if they can start bumping back up towards middle of the pack, at least, they become a really, really tough team to beat. Because once the Lakers figure out how to stop some of your possessions at a average rate or even turn over the ball at a better rate than that they have, which is bottom of the league right now to some degree, like
yeah,
now that's more possessions for their offense to kind of gain advantage. And these are off of turnovers, these are long rebounds, all these different things that they can do. So I think people who say that we're not contenders, I don't disagree, but I do think it's
sure.
a specific side of the game that we have to improve on in order to get there. And I think it's on the defensive side. I think that's where everything starts really for this team.
I agree. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think they can. I think they're just going to continue to win at a pace that make all these conversations tough to make urgent, kind of desperate changes,
Mhm.
right, to things. I do think we'll get little bits of a Dutiero playing. Nick Smith Jr. is going to get a shot. I think Austin's out a week. We didn't really talk about
Yeah, I
that,
was gonna say
but
I hope Nick plays. I hope he gets his minutes bumped
me
up
too.
while Austin's out because he should play.
Yeah, yeah. Bronny played with South Bay tonight, so he won't be the team. But yeah, Nick Smith Jr., Chris Magnon is a guy I wish we try a little bit, but
Hmm.
especially Nick Smith and Adu, I think those two I think can help just I think raise our athletic floor. Vinay.
Hmm.
Like OKC is playing a bunch of second year guys, like get some young legs
It's
into the
December
rot
holiday season. Let him play.
yeah, get some young guys
Yeah.
into the lineup and just raise our athletic floor.
Yeah, I would say like even the Suns team coming up, they have a bunch of young guys. They play. Colin Gillespie plays. There's a couple other young guys. Oso Ighodaro
Hmm.
plays. Ryan Dunn plays. These are all young guys. They're not like they don't expect them to score 20 a night. Colin maybe, but they don't expect them to score 20 a night. Just go out, play defense, rebound, be athletic. This would be
Yeah.
a good opportunity for the Lakers to try and dip into some of that youth while Austin is out. Who, before I let everybody go, Raj, who's subbing in for Austin in that starting group?
Oh, we know who the sub is. It's Gabe Vincent. We'll start.
Oh, okay, so us hopeful people thinking that Marcus Smart was going to be the starter. Don't be surprised if it's Vincent. That's the starter. I think that's actually what everybody's expecting. And then everybody's going to get upset that JJ
Actually,
Redick is having a love affair
well,
with
well,
him.
Gabe Vincent is the sub for LeBron, so I don't know.
We'll see.
I'm guessing he
I
starts.
would hope Marcus Smart is the sub, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see
Okay.
what they decide to do. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things go. Lakers have a game tomorrow. As
Yes.
of when we're recording, they have a game against the Suns. I think they have another game until basically they get
They're
to
I think Wednesday they have a game in Utah,
in Utah,
and they play the
and then
Clippers next Saturday. So they have two games basically from Sunday to Saturday. So
yeah,
another really quiet week, which again makes no sense because we played like 6 road games in 8 days 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
So,
and it'll be interesting to see what happens, what it looks like. I think Austin's only supposed to be out for a week, so hopefully he's only missing one game, might miss
mild calf
two.
strain.
Yeah, that is the scariest 2 words in the NBA right now. So I'm sure the Lakers will be precautious. But they
Yeah.
said it was mild, so it might just be his legs retired from the road trip and
Yeah.
everything. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And the Lakers have a big, big showdown that December 25th game against Houston is a big deal.
Ooh,
That is a team
yes.
that is in the tier of teams that we think the Lakers are in, and how they perform against Houston does matter to me. And how we
Yes.
look does matter to me because it'll help inform, where we're at as a team against teams that aren't OKC, but trying to contend to be at OKC's level.
Yes. Friend of the
Um,
show, Kevin Durant will be in LA.
friend of Lakers Detail, Kevin Durant will be
Yes.
there. So as always, folks, we appreciate everybody that was able to join us tonight. I know it was a little last minute. The reason why is because I am going out of town from the 15th to the 24th. So I won't be here. We won't be able to record until I get back. But we want to make sure that we got something out while all the noise is going around about the Lakers, especially with the Austin news out here. But as always, folks, we appreciate everybody that's able to join us. Whether you end up listening to this now, you can always play this back on YouTube. I will get this up on Apple and Spotify for the rest of the group. For anybody who joined late, we hope that whenever you listen to this, you are having a great day. And if nothing else, we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.